Beautiful morning, sisters.
Hey, don't fucking talk to us. Get the fuck out of here.
Sister Ginevra, Sister Fernanda, Sister Alessandra, Sister Maria. These are your sins.
Bling, bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch.
Filthy conversation.
Mind your own fucking business.
Lustfulness. Homosexuality.
This is too tight. No.
Did you roll your eyes?
No.
You were rolling your eyes.
Wake up, little bitches, let me show you how to live.
You're insane. You've been so... You're gonna get me fucking killed.
Bring me his goddamn balls.
Preaching to you little bitches, did you hear what I said?
Girls can be tough, I'm not gonna lie. They can be very tough.
What is this shit?
It's a turnip.
That's not a turnip, it's shit! Who are you? Not fair. You're just stuck here with all these bitches.
So respect my business. Bling, bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch.
Ask me, Father, for I've sinned. I have slept with another man's wife. Sometimes she would place her mouth around my sex.
Yeah, well, that's sodomy.
I thought sodomy was just when someone would penetrate the rear.
That's also sodomy.
Right.
Did you do that?
I did.
And my thought for love is the rock.
What is wrong with her?
She is on drugs.
All my hot girls with me. Dance around and bounce those titties.
It's the longest list I've ever had. Apostasy, abusive language, heresy, revelings, eating blood. Do you think I've ever written down eating blood before? Where am I?
Bling, bling, bitch, do my own thing, bitch. Fuck a wedding ring, that ding-a-ling was just a fling, bitch.
What is this magic? Get something
Ring, that ding-a-ling was just a fling, bitch.
Hey, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having us.
Congratulations on this super weird, crazy movie about 3 batshit nuns. It's amazing that you got it made, and it's incredible. Talk about that, Jeff. How did this start? It's a remake of a adaptation of the Decameron, which Piero Paolo Pasolini made a version of a while back, right?
Yeah, I feel like a couple of people have taken a crack at it. Yeah, I studied this in college and read the book, and I just thought it was a really sort of funny setup for a movie. And then it turns out one of my investors was super hooked up in Italy and had been asking people to shoot in these medieval villages. And so when I brought this up, it just kind of came together really fast, out of nowhere.
So you got to shoot it in Italy and everything?
Yeah, in Tuscany.
Wow. Aubrey, what attracted you to doing this?
I thought it would be really fun to play a nun, and I just loved that it's a period comedy. I think it's a really rare movie that is made nowadays, so I was really excited to just be in something so wildly different.
And talk about the sort of one of the central jokes of it is that it's this period piece butting up against contemporary language, and I think a lot of contemporary responses to things craziness that would be happening around you. When did you find that would be sort of the main joke of the film?
Yeah, it's for me, it's almost not a joke even. It's sort of just the context, because when you read the actual source material, it's written in the Florentine dialect, so it's written for the people as opposed to Latin, which most books were. So there's sort of a built-in aspect to the book itself that it's more common and contemporary, and I just didn't want to do a movie where it takes place in Italy in the Middle Ages and everyone's talking with a British accent or speaking like it's Middle English, because it's not. And we're not going to obviously speak in Italian. So the next best thing, in my opinion, to sort of get people to understand that these were people too, was to have people talk the way we talk. So it was less a joke and more just sort of a cheat way to kind of get people to connect with the characters faster. That
said, it is still really funny to watch 3 nuns scream, "Fuck you, go fuck yourself," eat shit at somebody.
Yeah.
Dave, your character, what is it like to play someone that everybody in the film either wants to fuck or kill?
Okay, so we can say fuck on this.
You can't. Just my show, I say it.
Yeah, it was enjoyable. It was, there was a lot to play with. Yeah, I mean, I was surrounded by, some of the best comedic actors in the world, and so they make it very easy for me to react for whether or not people are trying to fuck me or kill me, and it's, yeah.
Did you feel like you were playing kind of the straight man to everybody else's absurdities?
To an extent, just because for part of the film, my character is pretending to be deaf and mute to try to, keep everyone at bay. And so I literally can't talk for a lot of the movie, and I have to pretend like I can't hear anyone. So I guess, yeah, I was the straight man to an extent.
Aubrey, you're hilarious when you're mean to people, and I think you're the meanest maybe in this film so far that I have seen. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know. I was just playing my character the best that I could.
When you're mean to people in real life, is it also unintentionally
I'm not
funny?
mean to anyone. Who am I mean to?
Everybody's mean to
You don't
someone
know me.
sometimes. Everybody gets the chance to be mean every now and then. Okay, fine. We'll leave it there. Jeff, you've assembled a pretty amazing cast here in Italy. Was that the selling point? Come to Italy?
That was part of it. I think it was also an opportunity to work with a lot different actors that I think everyone loves. So, a lot of these people are either the leads or they don't get to work together as a unit. It's more just like they're part of a movie. And so the idea of, I think, working together with everyone of this caliber was really appealing to all the actors. And then obviously like going on vacation to Italy for a month was like a big selling point.
Is there something that feels like breaking a taboo when you're sort of cursing and having sex dressed as a nun?
It was it was weird because I grew up Catholic and I grew up going to an all-girls Catholic school with nuns around me. So it did feel kind of wrong, but I think that's how it was supposed to feel for the characters.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Dave, how did you get involved with the project?
So I sat down with Jeff, and he pitched me the idea, which sounded like something that I've never heard of before. And those are the projects I'm attracted to, is just things that are trying to do something different. Like you said earlier, the fact that this movie exists is kind of amazing. Everything else being made is a sequel or a comic book movie or a remake. And so I don't know, it's like the tone of this movie, I don't even know how to explain the tone, which I think is a good thing. It's like it feels unique. And then when I sat down with Jeff, Jeff had just like such a strong, specific vision, and those are the types of people I want to work with, people who like, I can't think the way Jeff does, and I just want to get on the journey with him and him lead me through something that I've never experienced.
Jeff, what was your take on the Decameron that you felt was possibly different than the way that it had been adapted before?
I guess just sort of taking contemporary comedians and putting them in a situation that is to some extent comedic, instead of doing something that's like a little bit more, I guess, exalted or taking it kind of seriously. And I think as Americans, we're not really familiar with the source material. I only found out about it from this one class I took in college. So it felt like it was something that no one really kind of had seen before. And obviously there's the Pasolini version. He grew up with it. I didn't. So I wanted to sort of take a contemporary stab at it.
There's a scene at the end of the film, and I don't want to give anything away, but a wonderful scene between Molly Shannon and John C. Reilly that I feel like sort of states what a lot of the film is talking about, which is this idea that even if you're sort of oppressed or you have these very strict rules around you, desire and love will kind of flourish throughout. Was it difficult sort of making sure that your film illustrated those themes even when you're in this sort of wild comic context?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I think the overall theme of the book and hopefully the movie is that we're all just people, and we have to kind of put on airs and pretend like we're not who we are sometimes due to circumstance, but in reality we all have the same urges and feelings and interior life. And so it's hard to repress that, and especially when society or religion or any sort of force is forcing you to sort of keep that at bay, it only comes out a little bit stronger. So I just wanted to sort of explore that, and I think Molly and John are amazing, and they're the best.
Aubrey, what was it like getting the chance to work with all of these actors, especially your fellow nuns?
It was really fun. Molly Shannon and John C. Reilly played my parents in Life After Beth, which was Jeff's first movie. So it was kind of funny to have them be like the mother superior and the father. They were like my parents again, but in a whole new way. And everyone else is amazing. Nick Offerman is so hilarious, and it was really fun. I didn't get to do any scenes with him, but it was just fun to watch him look like that. And Alison Brie and Kate Micucci are so fun, and yeah, we all were kind of just like looking at each other in those costumes all day long, and like just being like, wow, this is really weird what we're doing, but we're all in this together.
Oh, one person that you cast in the film that I haven't actually seen act that often, who is someone that I love, who's Paul Weitz, who I always remember. I think it's one of the funniest performances in Chuck and Buck. Yeah, he's so funny in that movie, and you cast him as this sort of weak guy that's just getting beat up on all the time. What made you cast him?
Pretty much Chuck and Buck. Like I think that performance.
So funny in Chuck and
that
Buck.
performance in Chuck and Buck, I think is no one really is paying attention to it. It is one of the best performances, one of the funniest characters ever. He's been in all my movies. He was in Life After Beth. Yeah, he played one of the mourners in Life After Beth. He's in Joshi as a private detective. I love him and I love his energy, so I've put him in every single thing I've done. There's like a couple of people that I've been able to, well, Aubrey, Amin Pali, Paul Weitz, and Paul Reiser are in everything I've done so far. So I will continue to try to put them in everything I do.
I loved Joshi. I forgot that Paul Weitz was in it. Excuse me, but it's a completely different kind of film than this. It's a comedy with a lot more pathos, and it's much darker and sad. What was it like? I mean, I think it seems like you shot this pretty soon after making Joshi, right? What was it like jumping from that one to this one?
It was refreshing. I loved making that movie. It had a lot of masculine energy, and I kind of felt like I needed to sort of move the pendulum over towards something a little more feminine to sort of counteract it. And I learned a lot of sort of techniques on that film that I applied to this movie. So there is sort of I think a stylistic connection to some extent, although I think obviously tonally it's, that movie's a lot darker and is dealing, but at the same time they're both fun and it's a similar sort of approach.
And a lot of Joshi was improvised, right?
Yeah.
So, and this one was mainly completely scripted, I'd imagine.
No, this movie was very similar to Joshi. Like we used a lot of improvisation in this one.
Oh wow, really? So you guys were improvising a lot?
Yes, totally.
What was that like, Dave?
It was terrifying just because there was no script on this one. It was all
no script.
No, but so it was an outline where each scene there was a description of what had to happen in each scene. So we knew we needed to get from point A to point B, and then try to figure out kind of how to get there. And it sounds crazy and it sounds like we were just throwing things against the wall, but again, Jeff was like just a great person in charge, where if we were going on tangents, he would reel us in, and it didn't feel like a normal improvised movie where a lot of the time, it feels like there's this like long back and forth about nothing. It's like Jeff really, really tried to simplify everything and ended up making the movie like a lot quieter than you would think. And so, yes, it was improvised, but it wasn't just off the wall and crazy.
Yeah, I would say it was somewhere in between improvised and scripted. It's like a whole new thing. It needs a word, but
yeah,
it doesn't exist.
The outline is like pretty detailed. It's not like we're like going in there and being like, okay, this scene takes place in this room. What are we gonna do? It really was sort of beat it out. I just wanted to get the actors to say the lines in their own words as opposed to forcing them or imposing lines on them.
Do you come in with lines and then say this how you want to say it, or like jokes that you want to get out?
Yeah, I mean, I after the third take, we're pretty much locked in, but there's certain lines I really do want them to say, so I'll ask them to say certain things, or there's certain points I want them to make. But I let them sort of find it at first, and then I sort of guide them towards what I have in my head.
Can I ask a nerdy question? Like, do you shoot with like multiple cameras, or do you sort of start in the wide and then pinpoint what you want to hit in close-ups?
Yeah, I've never been able to afford 2 cameras, which is a nightmare, especially with improvised stuff. But yeah, we generally shoot in. I don't like master shots, so it's whatever if it's a 2-shot or a 3-shot, it's whatever the most amount of people are in one shot, and then I slowly work my way towards singles.
So you sort of figure out the scene in the wide, and then, or whatever the wide / master / what you like is, and then you sort of end up doing close-ups to make sure that you punctuate the things that you liked.
Exactly. So like by the third take of the 2-shot or 3-shot or 4-shot or whatever it is, we have the scene kind of locked in, and then as we sort of get coverage in singles, we're just replicating kind of what we found, as opposed to.
Still sounds terrifying.
I mean, it's pretty much what you're doing in a regular movie with a script. You're just, in this one, we're accounting for the fact that there is a looseness to finding the scene. But once we find it, it's. I mean, they're all professional actors, so there's really no difference between the way I'm doing it and the way that it would be for like a traditional film by like the 5th or 6th take.
Aubrey, what was your favorite thing that you got to do dressed as a nun?
Ooh, I guess it was really fun. Harassing the gardener. Yeah. It was really fun doing that because it was kind of, when you're in that costume, you feel kind of like weighed down, and the fabric's really heavy, and we were all kind of feeling like claustrophobic. So that scene was fun because we got to kind of like lose our shit a little bit and go crazy and threaten him and get really physical.
Dave, what was the toughest scene that you had to shoot in the film? One that made you the most nervous, considering that you were improvising a little bit more.
Yeah. Maybe the first scene I shot. It's a confessional scene where I'm telling John C. Reilly all my sins and basically just describing in detail all the vile things I have done to other men's wives. And the scene, I'm supposed to be pretty drunk, and so in real life I got pretty drunk. And
do you do that? I mean, have you ever had to do that before? Be drunk in a scene? And
I haven't.
We did that heroin movie, right?
When you
did that heroin movie.
What's up?
When you were doing that heroin movie, you were doing heroin the whole time.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you just came out of that. That's amazing that you were able to just quit. Wow.
Let's go with that explanation. Yeah. No. I mean. It's like I don't want to like encourage people to like go out and get really hammered for their drunk scenes, but you gotta it's a fine line because you don't want to go too far where I have done that before and then ultimately you're just not even there anymore. But this one I feel like I got the right balance. Let's go with that.
The set didn't have to shut down for the day so you could sober up, basically.
Yeah, it ended up being one of my favorite scenes. It worked out really well. Yeah, he was like the right amount of drunk.
Yeah.
Let's get some questions from the audience. I see a person with a microphone speaking to it.
Hi. So what was the funniest thing that happened on set?
Molly's story?
Yeah, so one of the really cool things about doing this, traditionally when you're shooting a film, especially if it's independent, is there's not a lot of money towards catering, so you're eating just like bad food. We had insanely good local Italian food, and we would eat it when we were out at the convent. We would eat out in this field that overlooked the Alps with like flowers and trees, and it was like idyllic. Like it was so. The film doesn't even do it justice how beautiful it was. And so it was Molly Shannon's birthday one day for lunch, and we got her this cake called Amelia Folia cake, which is this really sweet, beautiful cake. I sound like Trump. Like it was a beautiful cake. So she took a bite of it. She was in her full Mother Superior outfit and just started screaming. And ripped her clothes off. I mean, she had clothes underneath, so she wasn't completely naked, but she ripped most of her clothes off and then started rolling and then rolled off the hill, so it looked like she kind of went off the mountain. And then everyone was like, oh my God, Molly Shannon just died. And then she popped up, like laughing hysterically and spinning around like it was the Sound of Music or something and saying like, that cake was really, really good. Like, and I have part of it on video, but I didn't get the part where she rolled off the side of the mountain, but it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. She was so joyful.
Yeah. And he's not embellishing that story at all. If anything, he's underselling it. Like, Molly she went for it.
Next question.
Hi, guys. So I saw this...
I remember you from the Vulture.
Yeah, last month. I remember seeing this at the Vulture Festival last month. And I still, to this day, I think it was one of the funniest movies of this year. And I like how a lot of the jokes revolve around Dave being mute. So I was wondering, for you, Dave... was there any moments you broke down laughing on set during those mute scenes?
I don't know about during those scenes, but I do remember there's a scene where Nick Offerman is describing in detail how he is going to torture me, and Jeff just kind of let him just go off. And the camera was on Nick, and so I was off camera, but I couldn't help myself. I was laughing so hard that I was crying and literally ruining the takes. But just Nick Offerman, man, he can say anything, and he just kills me. But in terms of the mute scenes...
he has the funniest laugh, Nick Offerman. He was here yesterday.
Like a girlish giggle?
Yeah, I had never heard it before, but he was here yesterday, and every time he giggled, it's
really endearing,
How did
right?
that just come out of you? This is the weirdest thing to come out of this man. Yeah, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
No, I think I was done.
Next question.
Hey, guys. I know you said that it's mostly improv. I was wondering if you guys had any crazy experiences or weird experiences with nuns or priests or any religious figures growing up.
I mean, I definitely went to church a lot and knew a lot of priests and knew a lot. No, not that didn't.
Not in the biblical sense.
That didn't sound right.
I think that more as like a brag.
No, well, I was bragging, but not in a gross way. No, I don't know. Some of the nuns at my school were teachers, and I had one teacher who was a nun named Sister Betty who played the guitar, and I just thought that was really cool and worth mentioning.
I didn't grow up with any nuns or priests, but when we went to scout locations, I got to meet a priest, this 92-year-old guy, and he was incredible, and he gave us a lot of sort of backstory about what it was really like back then, and how pretty much what we were going for wasn't really that far off. But one of the really funny details about this guy is he kept getting into DUIs, and at one point he got into a DUI, and when the police came, they did his blood alcohol level, and this is like his third or fourth DUI in a row, and it was so high that they said obviously he was drunk, and he said, no, I was so sad when I hit a tree that I felt bad that I had these monks bring me wine. So he had these monks come to court and testify that he in fact like was not drunk, but he basically got these monks to lie, and so they got this like this Muslim guy to like come and be his Perpetua, like the basically office manager, because usually it's women, and I guess they didn't really trust him around women after all of his like hijinks. And within like 2 weeks, and because obviously like Muslims are not supposed to drink, within 2 or 3 weeks, the Muslim guy got a DUI. So this guy was like wild, like, and he was 92. He was really funny. So that was like my favorite priest I've ever met.
What do you think he meant by when he said that the film isn't that far off from how it actually was? Like, what do you think he was referring to specifically?
Well, the thing that I found that sort of inspired this movie that I thought was super interesting was back then when this took place, it wasn't like you were a nun because you were so religious. You were a nun because you were forced into it, either because you were the youngest daughter, you were a divorcee, you were a spinster, your dad just wanted to have favor with the church. There's all these various reasons, and the vast majority of nuns were there because they were forced there, and so they were always getting into trouble. So there's these things called the penitentials that we read when I was in college studying this stuff, and it was just like constant sodomy and sex and drinking and revelry and just wildness. And so what he was telling me about was just how all these nuns were getting pregnant all the time, and if like a guy came to thatch a roof, they would descend upon him and, like either try to have sex with him or like do sadomasochistic, like, like acting out stuff. And so that to me was really fascinating because we just think of nuns in the Middle Ages as being these like hyper religious like robots, and really they were just as, they had just as much going on as we do. They just were cooped up. And
well, we think of the Middle Ages oddly in this sort of, we think of them as like this kind of buttoned up time when actually, in actuality, it was like far more barbaric. So it was also in many ways far more primal and just disgusting on a regular basis.
Yeah, I mean, I think they were so pent up and repressed that anytime anyone's repressed, it's going to come out in some way, whether it's unconscious or conscious. And I think the way it came out with these nuns back in the Middle Ages was wildness. And the way I sort of was taught, the way it kind of worked out, the Mother Superior wasn't the most religious. She was just the one who was either from the most noble family or just kind of stuck around, and oftentimes was the hardest partier. And so you'd get like wild parties in these places, and it was just, to me, that was kind of mind-blowing. And so he confirmed that for me, that actually was the truth. It wasn't until like in the 1400s, nuns almost like became nuns out of a feminist movement, to sort of like, I guess, get out of the patriarchy to some extent, and it was by choice. But before that, it was all imposed on them.
The headmaster nun, the Mother Superior, was like the gym teacher of high schools now, just the one that stuck around partying so long. It's
exactly,
like,
yeah.
Now I'm here.
Yeah, and it was like no one wanted to get in trouble.
Guys, when can people see The Little Hours?
This weekend in New York and LA.
Tomorrow.
And then the next couple weeks, it's going to open throughout America. So.
All right, guys, congratulations on the movie.
Thank
Give it
you.
up, guys.
Thanks for having us.